Hey guys, this is Brent with the Finding Freedom podcast. I am sitting here with Bubba Raven, who has an incredible story, and I'm just excited to kind of talk and explore. It's good to have you on here.
Man, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to talking about all the different things in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. So stay tuned and just be prepared for a really good podcast. It may be a little long, but you know what? It's really worth it. So stick in there, listen to the whole thing, and I'm telling you, his story is just really powerful. All right, so it's interesting how we kind of got connected through Facebook. How did that happen, by the way?
I posted something that I wanted to do with Ancestry.com and 23andMe.
Yeah.
And you was tagged in that post.
That's right. Yeah, and Anastasia tagged me, yeah.
Yeah. And she tagged you, and we just kind of talked back and forth. And at that point, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm speculating here that you didn't know anything other than, that, because I'd put in the post that I was adopted, and that I wanted to do a video, maybe not a live, but a video of getting the DNA kit, doing it, getting the results, and reading it online. And I remember we got in touch on the phone, and I kind of told you what I was wanting to do, and I talked about wanting to tell my story and about my leg amputation and adoption and going through addiction, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. And then you said, "Man, I'd like to talk to you on my podcast." Like, that's great.
Yeah. Did you get the DNA kit yet? Or?
No, I haven't gotten it yet because I didn't know exactly
what was going to happen.
What was going to happen. We talked about doing this, and if we was going to do it, if you was going to do the video and stuff with me, I wanted to get with you and find out, hey, how exactly we're going to do it. Do you want to video me ordering it? Do you want to video how you wanted to do it? So,
right.
But I'm ready to do it whenever we get a chance.
Oh yeah, that's going to be. I think that's just one thing that's just really cool is being able to have some excitement to finally get answers that maybe you've had for a long time, and just like really look forward to that.
Yeah, there's getting answers is definitely one of the things. There's still a lot of question marks. There's a lot of question marks about my father. My biological mother, I believe she was 15 or 16 years old, I believe, when she had me. And the person who was said to be my father, there's been four or five people that I've been told all through my life, this might be your father, and hearing all this stuff. And so just answering some of the, I know it's not going to tell me who my father is. And at this point in the game, I really don't believe that it's going to change anything for me. I'm 31. And I just, so it's just more of a, I don't have nobody that I can go back to and say, hey, what was, where did our family come from? Where, our ancestors, where did they come from? So as far as the genealogy, the DNA thing, it wasn't necessarily about, I'm going to find out who my family is. I want to find out where my blood come from. And so that was a driving force of wanting to do it, and then wanting to share that with everybody, because there's a lot of people that, would like to do it, maybe hesitation or whatever. So
just, now you're not going to be able to live in that space of not knowing.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's just, I can only speculate because I've never been in that situation, but you just imagine that, now you won't have any reasons not to to do something, to act on it. Yeah.
So the reason why I say that I don't believe it's going to change anything as far as my life or whatever, because whenever I was just several months old, I was adopted. And like I said, my biological mom, she was 15, 16, she was still a kid herself. And so my mom, who adopted me, she had actually babysat for me a few times. And there were a couple of things that happened. I believe and I'm not 100% on exactly what it was, but I'd gotten sick. And like I said, I was just an infant. And my biological mother was in her, mid-teens. Her mother, which would be my grandmother, and I'm not sure if it would be my grandfather or was her mom's husband, not sure. But they were, well-known, good people, but they were raging alcoholics.
Understandable.
So we had, my mom, who's young, grandparents or her parents that were raging alcoholics. There wasn't a lot of stability in that area for, a newborn child by a mother who was still a child herself.
Right.
So my mom, who adopted me, she had babysat me a couple times. I'd gotten sick, I believe. I don't know if it was a cold or flu or pneumonia. I'm not very sure. And she had talked to my biological mom about, we need to get him well. So they got me to the doctor to get me well. Well, just a short time later, and I'm not very clear on exactly what it was, but my ring finger on both of my hands, my nails are different. One of them's a lot longer.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was a curling iron or a flat iron or what. Somehow my finger got burnt. We're talking a infant child here.
Yeah.
And like I said, I hold no ill will towards my biological mother for that.
Right.
Some other things, yes. And so my mom, who adopted me, and that's who I'll refer to as mom.
Okay.
From what I know, she had went to her and just said, why don't you let me keep him for a little while, let you get on your feet and stuff like that. Me knowing my mom, she knew all along she was going to try to get me. But when you go up to someone who's just had a child and say, hey, I want to adopt your child, it's not as easy. But she knew, hey, I'll keep him for a little bit. You live your life, and we'll work it out. Well, I ended up, she come and got me, and I ended up never leaving, and it was a legal guardianship at the time. The adoption, actually, we didn't do, I don't believe we did the full adoption as far as, until I was of age.
Yeah.
And so my mom, she had two boys at the time also, which they were older than me. It's my two brothers. And she was married, who was what I call my stepdad at the time, who in the beginning, I believe it caused some strain on the marriage, but my mother, the person she is, kids, she wouldn't, I can tell you right now, he could have straight out said, I want a divorce, and she still would have said, okay, I'm sorry then, I'm not taking him back. I'm not, giving him back or whatever. She's a saint. She's been there literally from day one, just about,
Yeah.
So.
And it's good that you've had somebody in your life like that.
Oh, it saved my life.
Yeah.
Literally, quite literally saved my life. You never know where I would have been, good or bad. You never know where I would have turned out. It's safe to say in my vision that, no matter what's happened all through my life, it's better than possibly what could have been. Mm-hmm. So I'm very thankful.
How often do you kind of think of what could have been,
That in my early 20s, I thought about it up into my, probably my mid 20s, but I was going through addiction at the time in those years. And so there was a lot of things running through my mind. But I can tell you there's never been a thought run through my mind that what could have been would be better than what is. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I've always thought, and I will forever think, that where I'm at is better than where I would have been.
Right.
Because there's just some things have happened as far as, the leg, the addiction, but I'm a better person than I believe I would have been if I would have not been adopted.
Yeah, I think that's a story. I think that really, that part of your story is something that a lot of people can relate to because, just getting wrapped up in the what ifs.
Yeah.
You won't know, honestly.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they think of adoption as, you're the other, you're the adopted one or whatever. And I say this all the time. I was adopted, but I'm the favorite, and I tell my brothers, whenever we're playing around, I was like, mom had you. And so when she got pregnant, she kind of was stuck with you. She went out and chose me.
Yeah.
She picked me out of a crowd.
That's a way to look at it.
So I always joke about it. And I have a great sense of humor. Not too many things get me bent out of shape, or even if I go into a little mental rut, it's still, there's positivity that's coming out of it, so
yeah. And I mean, so many people deal with that, just comparison and just thinking, what if this, what if that, and not just in situations real similar to yours, but just in general,
Yeah.
How when those thoughts do come, I mean, what do you have anything that you tell yourself, or just kind of anything that you think of to just get out of that funky mindset?
Well, what I've done, I've started, I say recently, over the last year or so, when I get to feeling, kind of down or something, I listen to a lot of motivational things.
Yeah.
Like off of my phone or whatever. And one of the biggest things that I've always thought was, it sucks right now, and I'm in a bad spot mentally.
Right.
But I'm okay. It could be worse. There's people in this world who are literally at this moment getting told their child died.
Yeah.
Or getting told their family member was killed, or something like that. And so I've said this for a long, long time. It can always be worse. So that's one of my biggest things, as far as just me telling myself, even when I'm in a bad spot, hey, I'm okay, because it could get a lot worse very quickly.
Right.
And I'm thankful, I know this might sound silly, but I'm thankful to be in that rut that I might be in at the time, because it could always be a much bigger, much deeper, much wider rut.
Right. And to tag on to that, I think that's really great, a great idea. But just also, strive for the best too.
Yes.
Strive to make your life better. Strive to make it to where you don't have to struggle as much. To where you're not just staying in the same rut for years and years and just saying, well, it could be worse. It could be worse. So have some motivation behind it to continue to strive for better. But in reality, I mean, it could always be worse. It could always be better. You're going to be somewhere on that spectrum. But continue to make choices every day to strive to be better, no matter what the situation is that you're presented with.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been working on recently, when I say recently, this time it's in the last several months, is when I'm get into that rut feeling and just put a perspective on it. I'm thankful that we're doing this today, because the last week and the week before, I was not in a bad place, but I was in a foggy place. And I was telling myself that on the way here that, man, I'm thankful. I'm clear. I feel great, and all that. But one of the things I've worked on was when I feel that way, to be able to say, okay, let's see what we've done in the last day, or, all the way down to, hey, what have I eaten in the last day, or what have I watched, or what physical activities have I done? Because I feel like I'm trying to figure out how to narrow that down, to try to see if I can put a link between me getting into these ruts and if it's something causing it, or if it is what it is, and that's something that I've worked on it, and that might not be the case, but I'm trying to figure out why do I get in these ruts. And when I say a rut, for the most part, it's more of like foggy mind. Like I like to get in my truck and just drive and listen to things, or listen to podcasts. No specific destination in mind. I can't tell you how many times in the last 2 weeks that I've got up, got dressed, drove to Sulphur, drove to Lake Charles, drove, and not stop anywhere. And that, to me, that's calming,
Yeah, everybody has a thing that you can benefit from. So this is yours.
Yeah.
Somebody else's might be, going and throwing darts at a dartboard, or an axe, or whatever it may be. It's you just have to find your rhythm.
Yeah. And one of the things that I enjoy doing, I'm nowadays I'm more of a lone type person. Like, I'm not somebody who I don't go out and party.
Right.
I don't, it's, for one, that's just not healthy for me.
Sure.
Because I have an addictive personality. And so I don't go out and party. I go to work, I go to the gym, I go home. And one of the things that I do the most outside of that is I'll go eat at a nice restaurant by myself. Not that I don't want nobody to come with me, but if somebody's there, if I talk to somebody, hey, you want to go out and eat? Yeah, that's fine. But 5 nights a week, a lot of the times, I'm going to a nice restaurant or something and eat. And that, to me, that's my hobby.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stems from, I guess we'll get to this in a little bit, but a lot of that stems from is I'm still nervous about, I don't want to be a burden on nobody. And I went through a time where I was in a relationship, and me trying to fix my problems by myself without nobody knowing hurt somebody. And so I'm still on that shaky ground, even though it's been a year that I've been okay and better,
right,
and addiction free. I still feel like I'm on that shaky ground that I haven't really wanted to, take that step into, hey, putting something into a relationship, because, I'm just not that I'm not confident that I'm going to continue to be okay and better and clean and all that. But I guess I'm gun shy, because I don't, I want to help people. I don't want to hurt nobody.
Right.
And my issues have hurt people, and, not physically or not, just more of like on an emotional level.
Right.
So I almost feel like, like I said, gun shy, that, what if I'm not okay enough to where it's not going to rub off, or, or if I get into these ruts, that it's not going to hurt somebody, or, because when I get in these ruts, I want to be by myself, sit around, ride around, and even if it's somebody is around me, and not saying nothing, it's almost one of those things where I feel like I need to be by myself. And sometimes people don't understand that, and they think it's something that they've done, or you're upset with them or whatever. So I'm still, I want my ruts to be fewer and far between.
Right.
So.
And it's important for people to know, like, you're still in process. I mean, you said you're addiction free for how long? A year?
A year.
A year?
Yeah.
Man. And really, knowing what I know on about addiction and whatnot is that, one, you're going to always be in recovery. Two, a year is still really fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's days where I feel like it's a lifetime, and I'm like, man, this is great. But there's some days I'm like, that's not really that long. You still got a long ways to go. One of the things I tell myself almost every single day is that I'm not saying I'll never trip and fall back.
Right.
But I'm just not going to do it today.
Yeah.
And if I can tell myself that every single day, that makes my chances a lot better to keep going.
Right. Sometimes that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Day by day, hour by hour, if you need to.
Yeah.
I've heard lots of people's stories with addiction, and it's very similar.
Yeah.
Some seasons that they go through are a lot easier, and there's not as many temptations, and then all of a sudden something hits, and or dates are really tough. So dates of death anniversaries, or stuff like that, whatever it may be. And so you're not always gonna be at a place where it's just super easy.
Yeah, my cravings, what I'll call cravings, for lack of a better word, and one of the reasons why I don't go out a whole lot, and I don't hardly ever, do big things, is because that was a big time whenever I would take the pain pills. And because it gave me energy, and it just made things fun, at the time. And so that's also a driving force on why I don't go out a whole lot, because when I hear somebody say, hey, let's go out and go here, or let's do this, or if it's like a crowd involvement, because I always like to be not necessarily the life of the party,
right,
but I definitely brought, everybody together to have a good time, whenever we was out doing something. And I feel like if I don't live up to that, then everybody's not going to have a good time. And I know that might sound egotistical or whatever, but in my mind, if I couldn't be at 100%, I didn't want to go. And, so that's my trigger, that. And, I don't know, how deep you want to go, or content wise or whatever, but I can tell you sex was one of the big driving forces in the beginning, for taking the pain pills more often.
Oh yeah.
And it was it was like it turned me into a different person. And then next thing I know, I've been doing this for 6 months, then a year, and then, it just gets out of hand.
Right. And, you don't originally plan on it being that level,
No.
but it just happens.
No.
And I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of what I see is, sex and also alcohol, drugs, that they go together,
Yes.
and when you can, and what I've seen in the past is people get sober, they go to, let's say a rehab or something, but they don't work on the sexual stuff.
Yeah.
Then whenever they start having sex again, what are you going to be craving?
Yeah.
The drugs and alcohol, whatever it may be.
And for me, it's not a sex addiction, in my opinion.
Okay.
It was more of a performance addiction.
Okay.
It made things more exciting. It made things, do different things. It made, and like I said, I don't know exactly how, like I said, how far we're going to go, but I mean, it would take something that was going to be go home and things happen to it happened for hours and hours and hours. And I got used to that. And then that turned into like the going out and bringing the party together. That also turned into, if I couldn't live up to that, then I was embarrassed. And so it turned into, I had to keep taking it because I had to keep performing on that level. And that gets out of hand quick. And there's so many other things that, it enhanced, and, it gets out of hand quickly because you don't realize it. And then 2 turns into 4, and 4 turns into 6. At my highest, I was taking 15 and 16 pain pills in one handful, and I was doing that 2-3 times a day.
Man,
So
right there, that's a miracle that you're still here.
Yeah, and the thing, and one of the things that really got me, and what hurt me, was that you couldn't tell. I wasn't falling over.
Right.
My eyes weren't red. Nobody could tell.
Which also makes it, the addiction also then is part of the thrill, right? It's like, man, nobody's noticed.
I can do this.
I'm going to do this, and I'm going to keep doing it. Like,
yeah. And I can become this person, and nobody knows that that's not real because they can't tell that I'm high.
Until somebody notices. Right.
And at the end, a few people would notice here and there. But like I said, I'm telling you, man, I've taken dosages of pain pills that a lot of people wouldn't believe, and yeah, the worst part about it was nobody really knew. I mean, I had the people that kind of knew, but like the people that mattered didn't know. And I look back now and I'm like, I just wish I would have been more visible with it.
Yep.
Because I'm the type of person, if you call me out on something, I'll likely fix it out of embarrassment.
And I mean, when people have accountability, that's the best thing that they can do when they're struggling with any kind of addiction too.
Yeah.
Man, and I guess, I'm assuming on this, but maybe people, if they did notice, like, oh, well, I mean, he probably has pain that he deals with anyway.
That was a crutch. It was a huge crutch.
It was a crutch because, I mean, your leg and stuff, right?
It was a huge crutch. In fact, probably about a year or so before I started getting myself clean. Now, let me tell you, when I say get myself clean, some people tell me, okay, because I went and got on methadone for several years. Some people say, okay, when you quit doing the pain pills, you started doing that, you got clean. No, in my opinion, I didn't get clean until I threw everything away. And some people think, oh, just because it's a prescription from a doctor, that you're not No, you're
People get
doing,
addicted
and
to
I got
methadone.
just as addicted
Oh,
or
yeah.
more addicted to the methadone
Yep.
than I did the pain pills.
Yep.
And, so yeah, I mean, and back to the, the leg, about a year before I got clean, I was seeing someone, and I remember it was very, we were friendly and good, but we were toxic because we both had problems that neither one of us knew about. And that was a very toxic combination. I didn't know about her. She didn't know about mine. Didn't find out till later on,
Sure.
but I remember telling myself and her saying the same thing. Well, you're just going to have to accept that you're always going to have pain your whole life between your back and your leg, that you're just going to have to take things. And so at the time, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But when I look back at it now, no, that's not acceptable. Because I've been clean from methadone, from pain pills. I might have taken 4 Tylenols in the last 6 months.
That's impressive, actually.
And I'm fine. The worst pain that I really feel is when I overdo it at work, or in going to, if I go to the gym and I walk a long ways on a treadmill, what I consider a long ways, and or working, doing stuff at our farm, I get rub marks where it's like literally rubs the skin off, and it bleeds, and it burns.
Right.
And the only part that hurts is when I first get on my leg, put my leg on, it burns. But once I'm up and moving around, it doesn't hurt. And that gets me because it doesn't hurt. And I keep going and going. And next thing you know, I got a hole rubbed in my leg that I could stick half of my fingernail in.
Yeah, and it's not like the Energizer Bunny. It's going and going.
Yeah.
It's painful,
Yeah. But the thing is I cope with that now and I deal with that now, and I'm fine.
Right.
And it's not good that I do that. But the way I look at it is, the reality of it is there's a possibility that my mobility, I have problems with the good knee that I have,
Right.
my hip. I'm probably not going to be able to do everything I'm doing now when I'm 60, 55. I work construction. I probably won't be able to work construction when I'm 50 or 60 years old. So my thing is now I need to push myself
Right.
to do everything that I need to do now, so that when I actually do legitimately start losing mobility and losing the ability to get up and go work a job in construction and then go to the gym and then go walking and go with my nieces and nephews and stuff like that, I need to do all that now, so I don't
it's too
look
late.
back and say, damn, man, what the hell was you doing? You were perfectly fine and you didn't do nothing,
Yep.
So,
But I mean, hopefully by then, you'll have other things that you can do, even though your mobility is limited.
absolutely.
You'll still be able to make the best of it. So it's all
Yeah.
about your mindset, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I'm going to try to make the best of anything that I can in any situation. Being in hospitals and for long periods of times on and off, taught in my kid years.
Mm-hmm.
So it taught you that I had to grow up pretty fast.
Yeah. I imagine so.
And so I learned that, you can always make something out of nothing, just about.
Right.
So I try not to get down too much about any situation that I'm in. My like I said, my ruts come from, I get mental haze,
Yeah.
fogginess, like I can't think like how today I'm talking and I'm opening, wide range of stuff. If this would have been a week ago,
It would have been way.
it would have been
difficult.
more like you asked me a question and I might be like, yeah, that's pretty much how it went. It's not
Yeah, I mean, I like asking questions, but that would have been tough.
Yeah, it would have been hard, and so that's why, like I said, that's why I was thankful. It sucked we had to put this off a couple times, but I'm very thankful for that now.
Yeah.
So
And we're making the best of it today, even though there's loud noises from next door.
yeah, I mean, it don't bother me.
No.
So I don't.
By the way, for you guys listening, they are doing some construction stuff next door. Not in control of it. We had planned this, and there's a dozer, an excavator, and chainsaws going on. But hopefully, you can still hear us pretty good. I think that you can. So if there's background noise, sorry, can't do nothing about it.
Yeah, it's all right.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I'm still a work in progress.
Yeah.
And I'll always be, because I'll always have that in the back of my mind that, one thing I always say, and some people tell me, you're not an addict no more. No, I am. I'll always be an addict. That's just the truth.
Right.
But recovering.
But it doesn't have to be the only identity that you have.
No, not at all. But when I'm talking about the subject,
Right.
that's just what it is. And all I can, I always have to keep that in mind, because if I don't keep things in perspective, what's one of the things that helps me make those better choices? Hey, I'm not going out drinking, and I'm not going out to do this or whatever. That the knowledge of me being realistic with myself keeps me from making certain choices that I know could be a trigger, could be, something that makes me weak, and back to that, so one of the things that, and it has caused problems in the past is the sex because I always have that in my mind. Okay, this is what I am when I'm on something, and this is what I am when I'm not.
Yep.
And it's a hard thing, and this is not a exaggeration. We're talking, a difference of 2 and 10.
That's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, and 10 was pretty wild, But and so since I've been clean, and even right before I started getting clean, it had caused not huge problems, but that hesitation on my end of, hey, it caused problems if I was seeing someone or whatever. Why don't you want to do nothing? Why don't you, and all that. And it had nothing to do with them. It was an inner battle in myself because,
right.
It's like, man, I don't know how to explain it. I'm lost for words right now, but like it was, I felt like, okay, if I can't perform on this level, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, then I'm not going to perform at all.
Exactly. And then once I get that going through my mind, there's no changing it.
Yep.
And I understand for a woman that's. And I've never said this to anyone. This is the first time I've ever spoke any of these words out of my mouth.
All right, I'm ready to hit me with it.
No, I'm just saying, talking about the sex stuff or whatever. I've never told this to a friend. I've never told this to anybody. And I'm just trying to be open with everybody because, like I said, one of the things I want to do, I want to use my shortcomings and my downfalls and my bad turns as maybe a roadmap to help somebody not make those decisions.
Right.
So, but as far as the sex part of it, it's hard when you can't, or when I feel like I can't say that to somebody. And then whenever they say, are you not attracted to me? Or what's your problem with, is it something I'm doing wrong? or, you know, and then it gets even really bad whenever they go way out of their way to do something sexy or whatever. And it's not there.
And it's just a distraction. You're just in your head.
Yeah.
And it's
exactly.
like, oh, well, I'm a 2, so not going to be good enough.
Yeah. And the thing is never really had any complaints. But in my mind, if I'm not on my game, then, you know, and what's crazy about the whole thing is if I'm ever am able to get over that hump at that time,
yeah,
I'm fine. You know, and I'm like that as far as just getting over that little hump right there. I'm fine. I'm like that with so many things, like going to the gym.
Yeah.
Before I started going to the gym, no exaggeration, for over a week and a half, I would get dressed and I would go, and I don't know why, but I'd get to the parking lot and I'd be like, no, not ready. No, I'm not going to go. I'd leave.
What would you do instead?
I'd go home.
And just watch TV or something?
Go home, watch TV, or a lot of times I'd go to a restaurant and eat some steak or whatever. And the gym that I go to, Planet Fitness in Sulphur, it just reopened. So it was closed for a while.
Yeah.
The very first night it opened, I went. And I believe I may have went second evening. But after that, and man, I'm telling you, I don't understand why I'm like this, I'd pull up 2 or 3 days in a row, and it was like I get nervous. No reason. Everybody treats me wonderful there. They talk to me when I go in. I'm fine. But I'm just trying to relate, you know, it's not just the sex thing. As far as, you know, me getting in my own mind, it's other things too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but as soon as if I can just step outside of my truck and make a few steps in, I'm 100%, you know? So, I mean, to me, that's it's tendency, you know, I don't know the word for it, but like just comparing those two. Like,
yeah.
I get in my own mind, but if I can just get over that little hump right there, I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think people struggle with that more than what they want to admit.
Yeah.
You know? Just overcoming those negative thoughts in your head that say, oh, you can't do it, or it's not worth it, or oh, you're not going to be able to overcome this. You know, like you said with sexual stuff, with the gym. I mean, it's not the same thing, but it kind of is in a way. They do. It's linked together. It's all about your mindset. And
I'm not, you know, nowhere near in shape that I want to be, but
right.
Before the hurricane, right about a month before the hurricane, I was almost 300 pounds. You know, and I'm down to about 260,
Man,
265. And so it's I'm making progress, and but it also, that, like you said, they're not the same. The gym, sex stuff, it's not the same. But I've always had this this thing where, you know, I'm not gonna say I'm not good enough, because that's not it at all. Because, you know, you ask some people say, oh, he thinks he's God's gift. You know, not that heavy, but, you know, there's a lot of things I don't lack confidence in.
Right.
And but I always, you know, if I can't come up to you, smile, and have a good conversation like we're having, I feel like, man, he's not gonna like me if I don't, you know, if I don't perform in a conversation on the level that I'm used to performing at. He might think I'm upset, or I'm mad, or I don't like him, you know, because to me there is, you know, when it comes to several things, with me a lot of the times there's no in between. It's either 0 or 100, you know.
Which could be a good thing in some situations, but in a lot of situations it's not.
Yeah.
It's not so good.
In my mind, I don't think it's okay. I don't think people are okay with if if it's someone I come up to and I have a in-depth conversation with almost every time I see them. For me to walk up and say, hey, man, how you doing? You doing all right? All right, good. Well, they're going to think that I'm upset with them or something wrong.
Yeah, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah, what's wrong with him? Why you don't want to talk to me now?
Yeah.
You know, I'm a very personable person. Like, I'm very, you know, I like people, but I don't like people. I don't like when I can't be, you know, Bubba, you know, because everybody tell you I'm a fun guy. I have a good time. Lift everybody up. I bring everybody together. And if I can't be that person, I'd just rather not be around anybody.
But people also need to see the real you too. Sometimes
True.
people need to. You can't just be this perfect person, or you can't be the image that you have in your head that's a perfect person. You know, sometimes being real is the biggest thing, and that's my goal with this. That's a lot of my goal with talking to people, doing, you know, in therapy, everything as a therapist myself. Sometimes you just got to be real. Like, celebrate the wins, talk about the losses, be real with people, because you never know who you're going to help by just being real. You can't be the image that you portray on social media all the time.
Yeah.
And I know that I can get on a soapbox with this. You know, people see everything on social media and they're like, oh, so-and-so's life's so great.
Perfect.
But it's not. No, it's not.
You know, and I guess, you know, starting back from my accident, you know, let's talk about the accident.
Yeah, I was actually wanting to go there.
Whenever I was 2 years old, I'm not going to go into too deep of details of this as far as people
Sure.
or whatever. But when I was 2 years old, I was run over by a riding lawnmower. And I know that sounds crazy. It was a very, you know, we got to think it's 1992 or end of 91. It was September of 92, I believe is when it happened. 2020, 2021, and 1992 is two different worlds.
It's much
People
different.
played out in the yard when, you know, I'm not saying that's what happened, but people played out in the yard when other people, you know, they're playing over here or whatever. But so anyway, I was run over by a riding lawnmower. And it had actually, when it ran me over, if this is your foot, it cut up like this.
Ooh.
And the blades weren't on. You know, when I tell people the story, they think, oh, they like the movie, like, oh, you got run over and stuff shot everywhere.
If the blades would have been on, it would have been a way different story.
What got me was in the front of a lawnmower, riding lawnmower, especially back then, you had a lot of times you had the exhaust in the front, metal, the deck, metal pieces. That's what really got me. It got up on top of me, but they weren't mowing. It was actually about to be loaded up, I believe. Loaded up. Yeah. So it was stopped. And so the blades weren't on or anything. And some things happened, and it got on top of me. And my mom come, and she's just a little lady. Mm-hmm. And they, you know, from what was told, she grabbed that lawnmower and just flipped it up like Superman. Again, saved my life. And so they got me to the hospital in DeQuincy. Mm-hmm. And they, you know, DeQuincy, for people who doesn't know, it's a little small, you know, one-horse town. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows everybody.
Sure.
Especially back then.
It was different, way back different.
Much
back then,
smaller. Yeah. But they, you know, my mom has told me that when we got you there, they didn't know what to do. Right. They didn't know what was happening. Basically, it was, you know, I was just going to bleed out right there. Yeah. Which actually kind of happened. So they life flighted me. They got me to Lake Charles or Calcam in Sulphur. Not sure about which one first. And they got the helicopter to come there. And they had to get me stable or to transport me to New Orleans, to where they had, a team of doctors. They had people come from all over the country to work on me. And actually, once they got me, they had actually, thought I died twice. And they revived me. And you got to understand, I'm 2 years old. I'm that big. So I'm just a little child. And so they got me to New Orleans. Everything, they got it squared away. They lost me a couple of times. But, they always seemed to pull me through. So once we got there, I had to have revision after revision surgery. At first, see, I'm an above knee amputee. It's my legs cut off right above my knee. Mm-hmm. At the time, like I said, because when it cut, I don't want to get too
right. It just went kind of straight up.
Yeah, it went straight up like this. From like if you're looking at your toes, from your big toe, 3 toes over,
right,
up half your foot. But it also had caught and it had ripped my kneecap out.
Oh,
my knee.
Oh man, that's.
And so when they got me there, after many surgeries, they had actually only amputated at the ankle, but right above the ankle.
But then they realized there was much more
years
damage.
later.
Right.
They had pinned it. I had legs that were, below knee. I didn't have a knee because it literally pulled my knee out. So they had fused my leg. I could bend it just a little bit, but I mean it was basically straight.
Straight, yeah. Made it much
Yeah.
more difficult to walk.
So
I'm sure.
whenever they built my legs, I put it in there and I strapped it to my hip.
Yeah.
And it's in this long tube. Like I said, I got my leg all the way down to my ankle.
Yeah.
And when I would walk, I would have to take a step and I had to swing my hip around.
Oh.
Because I couldn't bend my leg.
Yep.
Like normal, like people normally walk. I would have to take a step and I'd have to kick my hip out and swing it. And I went like that until I was 12 years old, I believe. 12.
Yeah.
And it messed my back up. But I mean, I played basketball when I was in school.
With a fused leg like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I did, rollerblading. That was my big thing. Whenever I come home from the hospital for the very first time, I had turned 3 in the hospital. Mm-hmm. Maybe this wasn't the first time. It was sometime right around when I first was able to go. I had a walker, and we have a skating ring, or we used to have a skating ring in DeQuincy, and that was the thing back then.
Yeah.
I was little, but even up until I was a little bit older, that was the place. All the kids would go there.
Yeah.
Well, they asked me what I wanted to do when I got home, when I went home finally, and I wanted to go to the skating ring. And so I from that young of an age, and my mom always pushed me, hey, you can, if you want to do it, let's do it. We can make it work.
Right.
So they got me there, got my little skates on. I had a walker, and and they took pictures and had a lot of people there, all from the town, and so even though it was a bad situation, we made the best of it. There's no reason. The one thing I say all the time, I can't change what's been done.
But you can change what you do.
But I can take and go forward and make the best of what I can do with it.
Yep. I love it.
I can't change it. It's, when things happen, there's nothing, once certain things happen, you can't take it back.
Right.
But you can figure out a way to move forward in a better way.
Yeah.
Or you can make the best, moving forward. It was a below knee. Like I said, my leg was fused. And once I I've had over 100 surgeries
Ooh, man.
throughout my lifetime.
That's a quite a bit.
Yeah. When I was 12, I started getting my back started giving me problems.
Right.
And we went to the doctor, and because when I'm walking, I'm having to kick my leg out. So I'm walking completely all messed up, but it was normal for me, So we went to the doctor. Because my back started giving me problems. My back, it looked like a road map.
Like a snake or something.
Yeah, it was horrible. And so they talked about some different things that they could do to try to help with it. And we decided to amputate it above the knee, to give me an artificial knee to where I could walk straight. Now, I know this is silly. One of my, I'm just a kid at this point still. One of my objections were, I won't be able to skate.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like when I have to buy these really super lightweight boots to go to work.
Yep.
Because if it's heavy, when I pick my leg up, it's just going to stay down. It's a free range. So, yeah. And they was laughing, and they say it's going to be fine. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work. That's one thing we couldn't make work. That's one thing we couldn't make work was rollerblading with an artificial knee. So anyways, we decided to amputate above the knee. It's one of the greatest things we ever done.
I'm sure it helped out your back a whole lot too.
Yeah, and it helped out a lot. I was, from doing this from such a young age, I have this thing where I don't want wheelchairs. I don't want crutches. If I can do it without a wheelchair, without crutches, I will push myself to do that because I refuse to be wheelchair bound, crutch bound.
Right.
So I was pushing as much as I could, and I wasn't but 12 at the time. But you got to understand, a 12-year-old in a normal life and a 12-year-old who's been in and out of hospitals their whole life and doctors, and we're different. It was I knew how things worked at the doctors. One thing my mother always done was, if it didn't kill me, if it didn't hurt me tremendously, for the most part, I made the decisions on what I wanted to do with my body. Now, there were, certain circumstances where I was overruled, but I was just a child. But for the most part, they let me do what I wanted to do with my own body. And so,
I mean, that right there is amazing.
Yeah.
Just the fact that, you were able to make those choices.
Yeah.
Because it could have been easily just, this is what's going to happen. So, you
exactly.
deal with it.
That never happened.
Right. And so because of that, I think you were able to overcome and just really, power through a lot of that stuff and say, no, this is what's going to happen. I made this decision and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I don't even know where to begin even talking about 100 surgeries. That's
other than my leg, I've had my gallbladder and my appendix removed.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, they've all been leg related.
Yeah.
Other than that,
what would you because of your experience, what would you tell somebody who's been through something similar? Surgeries or just something.
You're talking about like amputations.
Yeah, amputations or just disability in general. For people that may be wheelchair bound.
One of the things that I want to do with my story, and one of my goals is to, we talked about I'm wanting to start the podcast, and tell other people's stories. But my end goal is to get to a point to where I can go spend time at these children's hospitals, people with amputations, burns, physical trauma, traumatic, real bad stuff. Because whenever I was younger, when all this was happening, they had people come in. They had like pro wrestlers come in, basketball players, but nobody ever come in who was going through what I was going through or had went through what I was going through.
And then I
felt
different.
like, okay, I just got to take this. We're going to take it and go with it. But I feel like if somebody would have been there who had went through what I was going through, something that I would like to do for other people, is to go visit with younger kids that are going through amputations, and kind of tell them, because could you imagine being, 15, 16, 18 years old, you're in high school, you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and you're playing sports, and all of a sudden you have a traumatic accident that takes one of your legs, one of your arms, both your legs, both your arms, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I can tell you, even though I grew up the way I grew up, I still went through those emotions of nobody's ever going to love me. How can somebody love somebody with one leg? I'll never be able to get a job. Nobody's going to hire somebody with one leg. How am I going to, my friends are all, doing everything that they do. How am I going to be able to keep up, And I grew up this way. Just the way you learned how to walk on your two legs, I learned how to walk on my two legs. Mine just looked different.
Yep.
So even me growing up that way, I still, as a teenager, went through these emotions of thinking about those things. And I was prepared for this my whole life.
Yeah.
So I feel like that if I could go and spend time with people that are going through these situations currently, that I might can show them, look, hey, I've had people love me dearly. I have worked my entire adult life in construction. They told me nobody in construction is going to hire, I have all my friends work construction. Mm-hmm. Some of them beat around the bush. I talked to them about a job when I was younger, when I was 17, 18. We'll see what we could do. But I had several of them say, it's really not going to be easy finding someone that's going to hire you because you're a liability to a company. And they're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I decided I got to figure out,
You got to figure out something.
Got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I done. I found this company that I currently work for. When I first went there, there was a lady, Miss Angie, who worked there at the time. She lived in my hometown. Me and her daughter went to school together. We're all friends. I went there, talked to them about a job, put in an application, and I went back every day. Hey, just want to check on that job. And finally, Miss Angie told me, she said, I'm not telling you this officially, but you're going to have a really hard time, getting them to hire you. And I was like, there's a way around that. There's a way. And so I come back again the next day, and finally I got to talk to the boss guy. And I told him, I said, listen, I will work, and I know you can't work for free. But I said, look, I will work for a week or two for nothing. And if I can't work circles around these guys that you have out here already, I'll quit. You don't have to fire me. You don't have to tell me anything. I just won't come back. And after that, I got in my truck and left. And I didn't make it back to town. And Angie called me. She said, hey, we're going to set your stuff up. Of course, they just hired me. They didn't, all that. But I kept pushing. And I was like, well, there's a way. I knew I could do it. And I started out running heavy equipment, forklifts, backhoes, track hoes, loaders. And I I'd worked and I had a surgery just a few months after I got there. And just in those few months, I'd proven myself as an operator to be very good at what I do. And I had to have a surgery. And so they told me, they said, hey, I'd come back from a surgery. I was still bandaged up, on crutches. I got a release to go back to work on light duty and office stuff. And I'd already looked at becoming like a plant operator.
Yeah.
And so they said, look, we don't really have nothing you can do, for what you do. And they said, would you want to learn how to run our batch plant? I said, absolutely. I was already eyeballing that to begin with. So I started doing that, and I've been doing that. I stopped for a while, and I went and did safety for a while on pipelines, and I come back to that to work for the company that I currently work with.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that. I've been with them for a total of 7-8 years, something like that. And now I run the whole batch plant area.
Wow.
I run the whole deal back there. So back to what would I talk and tell other people that are going through this is I would like to be able to go and show them I've been loved. I've been with my friends, played sports. I played sports in high school, basketball, all through middle school. My whole life, I played basketball.
Yeah.
And not only did I have a career, or do I have a career, I got a career in something that everybody said that I couldn't get into.
That's
and
amazing.
Now I am a boss. I'm a supervisor now.
Just that one story, man, that is so encouraging, just to know, like, you pushed and pushed and pushed and made that happen.
Yeah, I didn't accept the label that society would put on someone with a physical disability. And I've had some breaks in my life.
Right.
But nobody can say that I didn't work hard to get where I'm at. And, especially, and I've done all this, and then the addiction, and, I was reading, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something that was said, we're all given 2 lives. And the second one starts when we realize we're only given one. We only have one.
That's it. Yeah.
And man, that hit home, because after I broke free of addiction, I'm like, man, this is what living life is really supposed to be about.
Yeah.
So, and I still have a ways to go, but I'm getting there, and I wouldn't trade a single solitary moment, a day, an hour of what I've been through the adoption, through the amputation, through the addiction, through any kind of heartaches. I wouldn't trade a single thing, because I am who I am today.
Exactly.
Because of those shortcomings and those downfalls and those, bad things that have happened. And I know today that I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And I want to help people. So I know that was kind of long-winded, but that was what I want to do. I want to help people by, specifically, kids from the, early teens, 12, 11, up until whenever.
Yeah.
To show them, because I didn't have nobody that was going through what I was going through.
No.
Or had went through what I was going through, that told me, hey, you're going to be okay, because look, you can do this. I've done it, and I know every case is differently, but it can be done. And I feel like some of those emotional roller coasters I would ride could have been averted if I had someone.
So maybe you can be that person for somebody.
That is my end goal.
Yeah, man, that's
my
great.
end goal.
That's great.
So, And I know we've been talking for a while, but I've just scratched the surface. So we can do this as, I can come back. I can, however you ever want to do it, man.
I feel like you could probably talk like just a whole episode about your story with addiction, which people probably need, I mean, just, pain pill addiction. And I mean, you have a legitimate reason to take any kind of pain medicine, knowing that it does hurt, especially if you walk a lot and you get the, like you were saying, you get the
raw
cuts
spots
and the rawness. Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely, I could do, one, like I told you in the beginning, it takes me a minute to get going, but once I get going, I can go and go and go and go, because I feel passionately about it.
Right.
And I feel like, the more open that I am about things, and no matter how embarrassing it is, no matter, just like the sex stuff I told you, I've never spoke most of those words out of my mouth before.
Right.
But I'm here. I said I'm going to do this to help people.
And you're doing it.
And I don't care if it's embarrassing. I don't care if it's, if some people, I didn't really say anything too edgy this time, but there's stories and stuff that, some people might not like. But it's my life.
It's your story.
It's my story.
Yep.
And I promise myself that if I could do this, I was going to help somebody with my story. Because if I just went through life and grew old and died, everything I went through would be for a waste. It would be for nothing if I didn't use that to help somebody coming up.
Right.
So...
I think it'd be something to say to people that don't like your story. If you don't like it, change the channel then, right?
Yeah,
so just,
Ben Terry.
Just talking about Ben.
Yeah. God,
man.
that was so great.
I know, it was good
That was
stuff.
so great.
All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you being on here, and like you said, maybe it's something that you can do again and be more specific. Like, hey, this is specifically what we're going to talk about as addiction. Today was more of an overview, but I can tell just in the hour that we've been talking, it's just man,
it's been an hour already.
It has been an hour already. Yeah.
I feel like I'm just getting warmed up.
I know, right? But I do appreciate it, and we're gonna do some more. And I know that you're gonna do some. When you get started with yours, and just you have a good heart to help people. So I encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. Don't let anybody discourage you from going through with it. Learn what you need to learn, and if you're gonna start a podcast, then do it. Yeah, that's the first step. Mate, just do it. Yeah. Nike had something when they came up with that. Just do it.
Just do it.
So
I'm genuinely, I'm not, looking for anything other than, I know with my story, I know that I can help somebody.
Yeah.
And I know that I can do it because I have a way of communicating and talking and I just want to use that,
Yeah.
So I appreciate you having me.
All right, man.
I enjoy it. I hope we get to do it again.
Oh, we will.